and welcome to episode 523, he says, unsure, while he looks at the doc of the God is a Geek podcast. My name's Adam Cook, and I'm joined by Chris Hyde. Hello to you, Chris. How are you?
Yo, I'm good. We're here again. It feels like it's been ages. Has it? I can't remember. Has it been a while?
It's been a week, mate.
Like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, and
Were we here last
that's
week?
Lyle Carr. No, we weren't here last week. That's Lyle Carr on voice there.
I'm here.
On voice.
I feel like we've just discussed what I was saying. I feel like...
Well, no, it's not that, mate. It's just that I'm the host as well as the live production person, and so trying to jump between you all while you're talking and I'm talking and introducing you is very difficult. So hello, Mick Fraser.
Hello, how are you?
Okay, fine. You're all on screen now. You can all talk.
Well,
it's only the intro that's hard.
And then just move on.
Oh, fine. How are you, Chris?
I'm all right. I just don't know how long it's been. And no one's
Well, if you're
been
all right, why are you
We had a week
fussing?
off. We had a week off.
Right.
Because I don't remember why, actually. I think no one was around or on holiday or there were
I think
million
Lyle
games.
couldn't be asked. I think that was what it
That
was.
was-
I was there. I was right there. I was
Lyle
ready in
put
the
a petition
trenches.
out
I
saying-
sat here in this empty room talking to myself for an hour and a half.
I
Oh,
think
that's really
Lyle gave us
tragic.
Lyle sent us all a hashtag fuck it and we didn't do it.
Yeah.
That's just what an image, though. Can we not, before we get into the many games we need to talk about, can we just get that image of Lyle? In fact, I can do it. I can put Lyle on screen in silence.
It makes me happy that he was talking for an hour and no one was listening.
Or not. But yeah, no, I agree.
I'm fine. I can cope with that. An hour and a half with myself. It's great. The best company I could imagine.
Oh no, not like that.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. That doesn't sound
An
good.
hour
does
and a
it?
half.
Oh.
You know our listeners. That'll be
Oh no. Sorry everyone. That's well. There's one of the shorts for this week.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah,
actually,
straight away.
nice and easy at the beginning. I can find it, get to it really quickly.
Yeah.
Lovely,
Lyle
beautiful, clear
wanking.
audio behind the scenes there. Behind the scenes we can say that we have now got a Starfield review up because not only is the game well and truly out. I'm not going to get into all that.
Out.
There's nothing we can add to the discussion around the review code situation other than we were the same boat as everybody else. We got it basically when
The same boat as some people.
same boat as most people.
So Mick
as
does want to
most
have the
people.
conversation.
I'm not having the conversation, but let's not.
Yeah, we basically got it when everyone else got it.
When most of the UK
When
media got
most.
it, not all of, but most of. And so we were playing it kind of with everyone else who got early access. Chris has reviewed it. It's been such a busy week. I'm pretty sure he gave it a 9.
Give it a 9.
And when I say he and I say Chris, it's not the Chris that's on this podcast. So,
The other Chris.
the other Chris
Chris
White. But I believe Lyle's played a small bit of it. Mick hasn't yet. Chris,
I haven't yet. No.
I don't know what your average is. I've hit double digits hours
I
wise.
think if I haven't, I'm close to double digits,
Okay.
I'd say.
But knowing you, that probably means you're still in the first room of the game. I
Oh,
would
mate, I'm
imagine.
just looting the first room, yeah.
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 That's kind of what I thought. I mean, will you start then, mate? What do you think of this? Like, I don't want to. It's weird to be talking hyperbole like of a game that is out in Game Pass and anyone can play, but it is one of the biggest games of the year. Whether it's that I don't think is up for debate. I don't think that.
No.
I think that is objectively true. It is one of the biggest games of the year. It is the first apparently, and they've used this enough. So I'm pretty sure Bethesda have said it's like the first new universe in 6 years. I think they were saying, and there's stories from Todd Howard about how it's the game he's wanted to make, and there's like all this sort of I walked into this office and I pitched this. Anyway, it is out. It is a huge game.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, what do you think of it so far?
Yeah,
Shit, innit?
it's not. No, and
No.
I need to say that straight away because I do think that some of this conversation is going to be. But so I need to just get out of the way early. That it's a very good game, and it's very enjoyable. It feels lazy to say it, but you have to say it. It's Fallout in space, and it just is. And if you're sitting
Can I
there,
just addendum that slightly? It's Fallout 4 in space.
Sorry, yeah,
I want to be
Fallout
clear
4 in
about
space.
that.
Sorry, yes.
I know that
Fallout
sounds
4.
really, really anal, but like I do think it's an
No,
important
no,
How
point
does
to
that
make.
stack up to like the Outer Worlds though? Because the Outer Worlds was Fallout in space, right? I mean, what? And I'm not. And I really want to play Starfield. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm not
I think
being
we'll
negative
get
to it, right?
to. I think naturally we will get to that part
Yeah,
of the
maybe.
discussion quite quickly. But I did sort of interrupt Chris, so carry on,
No,
please.
it's fine.
Sorry.
And the reason why I say that is not to go, well, of course it is, but like, if you like love, hate Fallout 4. And you can insert the same emotion, I would argue, to Starfield, right? Because it's incredibly familiar despite the space setting, I would say. There is not... You can't go into this game expecting a leap forward in approach. Yeah. Some of the polish is nicer. Some of the scope is larger, but this fundamentally it's Fallout 4 in space. And I personally loved Fallout 4. I'm all in for another Bethesda game. So I really am enjoying what I'm playing with Starfield. I love Skyrim. I love Fallout 4. So I'm happy as a pig in shit with Starfield.
That's why I'm looking forward to it.
My view of this game is I really like it. I don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread, the best game ever made.
I do think it's the best game they've made.
Yeah, I mean, it's
probably
difficult. Probably from what
I've
played, from what I've played, because it's hard to say that definitively when I've put hundreds of hours into both the other ones. But I could see that being the case. So I'm enjoying it. I think there definitely is things they've done with it which I think could make that true. But it isn't. Yes, it's a whole new universe, if you like, in 6 years or whatever. But it does feel like you're doing the same things, and with that, naturally, I think comes some caveats, because there are the Fallout 4s and the Skyrims were made a few years ago, and there is you cannot get away, sadly, from the fact that it's 2023 and those games were made well before that. And if it feels like that game, there's an element where it feels like a little bit dated or a little bit out of time or a little bit lack of progression. Like, I don't want to make... I love it. Like, because I like those games. I would go and play both those games again now, right? So it's not like, but you just have to... I think if you love those games like I do, you will love Starfield. I'd be amazed if people love those two games and don't like this.
I would go one further and say, actually, like, because I liked Fallout 4 until they started the base building stuff. And I know it's not, like, essential, but there is a certain period of that game, not that far in, actually, where you do have to start engaging with it. And it isn't an optional thing. You have to engage in it. And I don't want that. I don't like that. It's not what I'm there for. And I fell off a bit. I loved Oblivion or Fallout 3 would be my favourite Bethesda Game Studio games. I would say New Vegas, but that isn't them. That was published, but regardless. I never got Skyrim the way other people did. For me, it was just like you've just said. To me, it was just, this is Oblivion, but not. It just felt like... I'm not saying lazy, because I don't think it's fair to call that game lazy because of the emergent gameplay stuff. And I know that's a phrase used a lot. Starfield, for me, right? I think you nailed it, personally. Well, what you said, out of time is how it feels. Now, I like this game, but it feels massively out of time. I think the most damning thing I would say about it is I don't think and by all means disagree with me, but I don't think there's a single thing that Starfield does that isn't done better in another game. And that's not to say it's a bad game, because I think it's a good game. But what I'm saying is, even if you compare it, whether it's fair or not, to No Man's Sky...
And everyone will.
Well, of course it will be, because that is the game that has been marketed to them. They have been marketed a game where you will be playing an RPG in space and you will be planet hopping. And you can planet hop by going to fast travel. Now, no one's going to sit here and go, but No Man's Sky was the game of the year when it released. It was actually a good game when it released, but it wasn't the great game it's become. And there's a whole discussion about early access and development when a game's in the public eye, whatever. Not what we're here for. I can't think of a single thing this game that does, and this doesn't mean it's bad, again, because the games are the sum of their parts, so it's not.
Yeah, and there's a lot of parts, and
there are, but I can't help when I'm playing it thinking, I reckon, because No Man's Sky has kind of got there now. I don't know if people listening to this, or I know you've played it, Chris. I think Mick has. I don't know about Lyle, but I've
played it recently. I've been playing the new stuff,
and if you were to play Starfield for like 10 hours and then give someone No Man's Sky to play for 10 hours, I think they'd be blown away by No Man's Sky. Because of it does the things that Starfield misses in terms of immersive gameplay. Now, on the other hand, Starfield's a better shooter. I miss Mivats a little bit. I don't think it's a brilliant shooter.
It's sort of fine.
It's sort of fine. It works, but
Yeah,
and I do think there's a lot of that. So
No.
I think there's a lot of damning with faint praise going on with this game. People are going, "Oh, it's the best combat they've ever done. Oh, it's the best." It's like, okay, so are they only going to be measured against themselves then? Are we
Well, I
not
do
going
think
to
that's
measure
the
them
point.
against
So
other
this is the
companies?
thing. This is the thing for me, and this is I don't. It's for me. It's like if you know. That's what's happening right now. Like it's like, oh, it's the best Bethesda game. I'm like, right? It's like, and I'm just like that isn't good enough. Like that
because it should be the best
because
Bethesda
it should
game.
fucking
It
be.
absolutely
Like,
should
the
be,
first
yeah.
thing it should
Yeah.
be
You know,
before it
it's-
gets released is the best Bethesda game, right? That's that. If it's not, then
What the hell's
fuck? They go
happened? What's happened?
backwards.
I will
Right.
say on that note, sorry to interject again, one recommendation I would really strongly give people is if you can play this on PC, do. The footage I've been sort of cutting in and out as we chat is PC based footage, and you know, fine frame rate, whatever. I think the game looks cleaner, runs smoother. Certainly on my PC, I haven't got like a top of the range PC. I've got a decent one, but going between the two as I have been, I am. I mean, this is perhaps not the conversation we're having about the quality of the game, but I am a little bit like, is this what we're doing now, Xbox? Because like you kept on talking about the world's most powerful console. That was a slogan. That was a phrase used. Your games aren't. They're not showing that. Like Redfall, whatever. Like we all know my problems with Redfall. They're numerous. But Starfield again, it's like this is at least this time they kind of got out ahead of it and said this game's 30 FPS. But when you play it on PC, it does make it. It's a smoother game. It is a smoother game, and you haven't got to have all those filters on that make it look weird. Like it just looks cleaner. And
Yeah.
I guess, like I say, it's nothing to do with the quality of the game. But
No,
I'm getting a bit
I
like, so what's Forza? Is Forza definitely going to be 60 now? Or are we going to get a news post a week before that comes out now? Because like you. Anyway, back to the game.
Yeah,
It's a very good game.
It is a very good game. The one thing I did, I want to just say, the one thing I've been a bit miffed about, other than the ridiculously low carry weight for someone like me who picks up everything.
Oh,
Let's just
don't.
park that fucking now. I feel like my fucking character.
Encumbrance is
no
just a
AP.
bad mechanic.
Have you dumped
now.
your
It's-
stuff off at the ship? Because I didn't know you could do that at first.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
well then you're just
God,
yeah. Okay.
I dumped stuff up at the ship. The last that's with me's
I forgot you
know,
could do that. Yeah,
packing as much as I can give her.
she's
You know,
packing.
and these fucking.
Oh.
The thing is, right, there's a few things.
Thanks
Like,
for the title, Chris. I appreciate that. She's packing.
like right, okay. So like
Throw it, Nick.
you go. There's a few things that just feel a little bit like
Out of
they
time.
don't-
They
it's
feel
not,
out.
no,
of
it's not even out of time, right? Ignore that bit for a minute. They're just things that like I will get round. This is time for like Chris's mini niggle corner, right? Things that just irritate me. I don't understand why they like it, right?
Yep.
You have like you scan a planet, don't you? And the idea is that you like in No Man's Sky, you can scan stuff for like XP, right? That's not a new thing, right? But like with the game doesn't tutorialize it very well, but you're like, okay, I've got a scan view. That's fine. I can deal with that. Scan this thing, and you're supposed to highlight it and press A on the Xbox controller to scan. And it was like by 13%. I was like, all right, okay, I'll keep going to get me 100. It's like, no. That's 13%. And I thought I would like, I'm the king of scanning. Like that's what I do. I've got to collect everything. And it's like, why is it not scan? I'm fucking sitting there pressing it. Little did I know, the game wants you to go and find 6 other fuckers, either at the plant or a little bug or something, to get 100% because your scanner only scans 13% at a time. Doesn't tell you that. Just says scan this and complete the scan book for this planet. And I'm like, it took me fucking ages to realize. Once I did, it was fine. But like the first planet you go to, the area that I explored was very sparse, so you couldn't see there was like lots of different trees to scan. So I was like, it was just like one, and I scanned it, and I was like, why is it 13%? So I kept going back, and it's just things like that. That and the fucking resources weigh fucking tons.
See,
Like
I get these complaints, but I'm surprised you're not bringing up stuff like, for me, one of the biggest issues with this game that I've experienced in my, like I say, time with it is the companion AI. Like, if that woman walks in front of me aiming down... in fact, in the video they've just seen...
I'm going to come to this, because there's a reason why that hasn't bothered me, but the reason it doesn't bother me is the other weird issue I have with the game, which is probably more fundamental, right? In a game like Skyrim, right? If you want to get better at the old sneaky, you just crouch and sort of...
You just sneak. You
sneak around, and you get better at it.
Yeah.
If you want to get better at one-handed weapons, you swing a one-handed weapon at some people, and you get better at it. I like that. It's pretty intuitive. That's how you get better. Practice makes perfect. It makes fucking sense. Well, in Starfield, you've got to unlock the trait to know how to sneak, to know how to fucking crouch. You can get. I
spent a while not knowing how to do the jetpack because I
only learned how to do jetpacks from the Discord.
Yes, same.
You get backpacks that give you.
I was told I had a backpack and a jetpack, and I was like, "Well, what button is it?" Because there's buttons here that don't do anything. And then I literally asked in our Discord, and someone was like, "You have to unlock the perk." I was like,
"You have to unlock the perk."
Okay.
And this thing, everything. I don't mind unlocking. I don't mind unlocking stuff, but if you think about it, like the way even like Fallout 4 did it, it was like you can unlock like. Nothing felt locked at the start. It was more just unlocking better versions of it. So like getting better with guns or getting better with... This is like, no, but I've got to unlock the ability to sneak.
So like, the reason why the AI doesn't
fuck me up is because I don't have to sneak anywhere because I physically haven't learned the ability to be sneaky yet.
Isn't that going backwards though? Like, they already did this in Skyrim. They already did this in Fallout.
This is what I mean. So I'm in a position
like
now...
technology to have put this in Starfield.
Yeah, so I'm now in a position where like... I mean, I'm a goody two-shoes anyway, but I have an allergic reaction to anything accidentally stealing something or accidentally picking up contraband because...
So you weren't a pot on the head guy in Skyrim then?
Not only... Yeah. But not only have it feels like the security guys have got like laser vision from across the planet, but I also can't try and hide anyway because I haven't unlocked it yet. So it's like... I haven't even experienced some of the frustrations you're talking about because I haven't unlocked the ability to be frustrated yet. And that to me felt like a really big step backwards. It's like, I want to be able to organically get better at stuff, but you're saying, actually, no, I just got to artificially level up and then I can get better at stuff. And it just, like you say, Mick, it just felt like a bit of a step backwards when I've experienced Fallout 4 and Skyrim, which I feel are more intuitive than this. What I do like is I like the little XP thing. So what they do is when you unlock a skill, so say you unlock like, I don't know, lock picking level 1, right? To unlock certain level of locks, you then have to unlock the ability to unlock level 2, you have to have picked 5 locks. So you have to use the ability to unlock the next level, if that makes sense. And I quite like that because like the trait for
the lock picking game's really good, by the way. Sorry, I just feel like we're being very negative. That's a really cool game. Done.
I can't wait to like get to the higher levels because I think
really good game.
Really cool.
Add that to the end of every sentence. While we do
but I don't want to keep interrupting Chris. It's just it's such a big game in every way imaginable. No, I mean in terms of not just that. I mean in terms of like I say, it's one of the most anticipated games. But and this is my crux of it, and this is something I think once everyone's played it and we discuss this come near the end of the year, I don't think it pushes anything forward at all. Anything at all. And by that I mean like people talk about Bethesda Game Studios as like they are one of the things in the industry. I feel like there's is responsibility fair? I don't know, but there feels like when you have that status, you should make an attempt to. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Great expectations is what you're saying.
It's like what Santa Monica did, what FromSoft did with Elden Ring, what Nintendo do with fucking everything.
With kind of everything they've done this. Like, this is what we were talking about a few weeks ago when I mentioned about Pikmin. and how it kind of seems to have been their thing, Nintendo, this generation, that they take the thing and you think, well, what are they going to do with this? You know, we've had 3 Pikmin games before. I mean, they're just about to do it with Wonder. People have like, I never thought I'd see the day where people were excited for a 2D new Soup game. Because everyone seems to shit on them, and yet here we are, and that's because of what's come before it. And I'm not saying that they are required to do that. I'm just saying I'm personally finding it really hard when I'm playing it to not have it there. That like,
but
you know,
yes, and the point is they're not required to do it. But when other developers are doing it,
yes,
are you still in that upper echelon? If you're not, and I think that's the fair criticism. I will be really clear. I love this game. It is the game where you go into it. You go into a city with the intent of doing one very specific thing, and then 7 hours later you're still there because you've.
I spent so long on Mars, and I kept thinking, "Come on!"
Like I haven't left Neon City yet. I've been there for fucking days, like just just wrecking the shit up, like, and I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it, and I've like, you pick up a side quest, you complete it, you get 2 more, and you listen into a conversation, something else kicks off, and it's great, and I love all that. And if you like that, you will love this. Like, there is a lot to like here, but if you're one of those people that's expecting something you have never seen and felt before, I don't think you're going to see it unless you've not played games before, because this, like you say, there isn't anything in this. I think it's actually, I've not actually thought about it like that, but I don't think there is anything in here that's like really new and different.
But that's what I'm saying, and I also don't think there's anything in here that's not done better elsewhere, which is what I'm not saying it's an average game. I think it, for me, this is a game you go into expecting something because of the way it's been marketed. If you can pass that and in your head accept what it isn't, I think you'll have a great time.
Yeah, and
you have to accept what it isn't.
That's
and I have.
Yeah,
it took a while. I will say it took a good 4 or 5 hours, but eventually I accepted this isn't the game where I can get in a ship, take off, fly across to the planet, land. It's not that game. It is not that game. Like, it is. It's not. It's just not. And you have to accept that. If this is not to make the whole 23-minute discussion we've had redundant, but if you can accept what you said at the start of this is Fallout 4 in space, and if you can go into it and you can accept that and you are fine with that, I think you're going to have a really great time. And I think I also don't think like give up on it in the first 3 hours if you don't feel that. Give it a bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I would say so.
Hey, it's a lot of games out, and I know that's a lot to ask, but I would say just give it a bit more time and see if you develop a rhythm.
Yeah, for me as well, I think my issue is, I think like sort of baseline sci-fi is about the worst setting I could ever be in. So I'm already
I'm the
kind of
opposite.
at a disadvantage where I'm like, I don't really want to be in this world actually.
So how you're feeling now is
okay shooting and
no, that's fair. But I wonder if how you're feeling now.
Fantasy, isn't it? Like Skyrim and stuff.
Yeah, totally, because I'm sort of the reverse, because like when I think of Bethesda, I think of Skyrim, and I love Skyrim, and I think like, well, you don't have to worry about there being kind of iffy shooting for Skyrim, because you'll be using a bow, and you kind of expect that to be a bit looser, or, you've got VATS in Fallout, and that's a bit more of an interesting setting for me, and like, I don't know. I think
do we know why there's no VATS? Do we know why? I wasn't sure if, is that something you unlock? Like,
I mean, if you do, I haven't looked. I don't think
because I thought
so.
is this the first game they've done where they haven't had something like that?
There wasn't VATS in Skyrim.
Yeah,
no, of course
but I guess you didn't really need it.
It's just a Fallout thing.
Yeah.
No, I suppose you're right now. You say that. Yeah, no, you're right.
It feels. I don't know. Feels like something I would have maybe appreciated. I mean, yeah, I think the intro as well is just like, it's a lot slower than it needs to be. And like when in the first like 5 minutes, your first quest is like follow someone who walks half your walking speed for like a good 5 minutes as they talk to you. Like, I just think like, it feels like a bit out of time again. Like,
yeah, and this is the thing. It's like, what does that remind you of? All the other starting sessions for Bethesda games. And this is the thing. It's like, oh, well, that's just what they do. And I'm like, right. Yeah, it's what they did in 2011 or whatever it was, and it's not 2011.
They just decided to not learn since then.
Yeah, and this is it. It's like, I mean, I don't know. Like, if it's not your setting, maybe it's probably not going to be for you. Yeah. But I'd agree with Adam. If Fallout 4 in space sounds appealing to you, do give it a few hours to get the shite out of the way, and when it lets you loose, try a
Get the
few
shite
things.
out of the way.
No, but you know what I mean.
Quote
It's
it.
the slow. It is the slow stuff. Like it
Yeah,
is.
no. Well, I think the way you learn is dependent on how you play as well. Because I don't think there's a bit of tutorial-y stuff, but I don't think there's actually a set. Unless it is just a case of just keep doing the story. I don't know. I'm going to play more of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not like desperate. Like, I must get back to this like tomorrow. I must. But like, at the same time, I do like it a lot. I think I did want a bit more. Is that fair? I mean, is that?
No, I think that's...
No, I don't think. I
No Man's Sky, but with proper full RPG stuff. That's what I was hoping for.
And
And I
This
think
is
that's
the
kind of
thing.
what they sold us on. I thought it was going to be wide open universe, fucking loading screens I thought, and I know No Man's Sky has loading screens and they're hidden behind fast travel and space travel and all this stuff. But
that's
like, I
modern
thought
game
it was
design.
gonna
That's
be,
what God of War does. They hide
yeah,
you
exactly.
behind.
And I thought that was going to be what Starfield was. I thought it was going to be a seamless universe, but when you landed on planets, you got that Bethesda RPG goodness.
This is the thing. This is the thing. This is the problem. I don't think like Bethesda have learnt from, again, ironically, from the games we've been talking about. Because you remember when Skyrim, it's like, it's this fucking big. The map is this fucking big. Because the whole thing's been about 1,000 planets, right?
Yeah.
And so instantly people's brains go, oh my God, it's going to be 1,000 planets plus all the stuff you've just said, Mick. It's going to be the best. And it's fucking not. It's 1,000 planets. There's no way.
I think you could argue this game feels like it was made in a bubble where everyone in the studio paid no attention to what was happening in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like you could make a case for what this game needed at some point was to get a smaller team in of researchers or people who play games. And say what's happening out there in like what's happening in modern game dev, because like we haven't made a new universe for 6 years, and we've been putting Skyrim out over and over again, and so what's changed? And they just needed that outside input or someone to put their hand up and go, this new console is like, boss, I was playing this game on PlayStation, and there's no loading because they're off SSDs, and someone's go, yeah, no, we're on Xbox, we're exclusive, so. Great point, because people will shit on that, and whether that's fair or not because of the reason it's happening, I understand some of it, but there are too many loading screens. There are even the menus. Like the menus, it's like,
God, right? Like I say, it's one of those things you get used to because you figure out where stuff is. But I should not have to be staring at a loading a menu screen for 5 minutes, going, where the fuck are my quests? And I shit you not, right? Because someone thought it was a really good idea to split the menu screen into 4 corners. Absolutely fine. Don't mind that. If your menu is split into 4, split it into corners. That is absolutely fine. Don't then go, shit, we haven't got anywhere for quests, so we just randomly hide it at the bottom. So your screen's actually split into 5, but that doesn't work with corners. So you've got this random hidden menu at the bottom that Chris Hyde didn't spot for fucking ages.
However, I will commend them. They didn't do that thing where, oh no, they shit, do they? Not in that menu. They don't do that thing where you're playing a console game and you left sticks and mouse.
The Destiny thing.
That is the worst thing in
you
modern
say a
gaming.
Destiny thing, but every
Assassin's
No,
Creed,
but
Ubisoft
Destiny
do
were the
it
ones
now.
that did it, mate. Everyone copied Destiny. That's the problem.
Everyone's copied it now.
It makes me wonder why they did.
Why do you think I would want direct control over a cursor when there are only 4 options? One of them is new game, continue, options, and credits. Why do you think I need direct control? Let me go up and down. Anyway, look, we need to move on to another game, because Chris and I have been angry about a game we actually really quite like.
It's great. Don't play it.
We've also been playing a game that has made Mick very angry, but he really likes, and that is Lies of P. Mick. Talk to us. What is it?
Bloodborne 2, really.
Oh, okay, well, fair enough then. So, next up then. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, there's more. It's a little bit reductive, I guess, to call it Bloodborne 2. It's obviously not.
Is it?
But it's...
Is it reductive, though? Because it's not... This is what we had this discussion. No, I don't know, because we had this discussion about the fact that no one's really tried to go for Bloodborne. There's always lots of Souls games, but this is not... This is a Bloodborne game. Soulsborne.
That's the thing, because everybody's tried to do Souls with different settings. Like the Surge is Souls, but it's sci-fi. Lords of the Fallen was Souls, but Souls and shit. And like, so everyone's tried to do. Everyone's tried to do.
Sorry, can I just point out, Mick, there that you're talking about the original Lords of the Fallen, not the other game that has exactly the same name that is out in a few weeks or whatever.
The absolutely new and unconnected game that's also called Lords of the Fallen. I'm not talking about that. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it looks good. No, but I mean like the old Lords of the Fallen from, was it Deck 13? I think it was City Interactive. I don't remember now. But yeah, so there's kind of Souls games, third-person Souls games or Souls-likes are 10 a penny nowadays. I called Lies of P a Souls-like in the review. Quite a lot of people have referred to it as, but it is much more of a it's a Bourne-like, which is just a shit. Doesn't sound half as catchy, but it is. That's what it is. It's way more Bloodborne than it is Dark Souls. But those games are weird because I've seen a lot of comments. We've had a lot of comments on our video about difficulty, and people have said, "Oh, well, if it's, is it as hard as Elden Ring, or is it as hard as Sekiro? Is it?" And I will say that Lies of P kind of cherry picks from all of the Souls games, like every Souls game that you can. And I don't just mean the FromSoft ones; I mean things like the Surge and Bloodborne and Sekiro. Lies of P does kind of cherry pick lots of bits and pieces from all those games, like even the weapon disassembly thing that you can do in Lies of P. I'm sure you can do something similar in the Surge. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's something similar in the Surge. Where
Surge
you can,
2, I think you could do something like that, yeah.
I can't honestly remember, and if I'm wrong, I apologise, but...
Don't worry about it.
But I think what Lies of P, I don't feel like... And a lot of people complained that it was a bit derivative of this, that, and the other. I don't know that the developers of Lies of P went, let's make a Bloodborne game, but we'll just put a different skin on it, because there are a lot of differences. There is a lot of stuff.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Is their own, yeah.
I was thinking about this as you were reviewing it and sending me your texts. I don't think I'd have a problem if they did, because I really don't. Like I say, where I totally am with you. There's a 10 a penny. You said for Souls games. I can't think of one that's really gone after the Bloodborne style in terms of the gain stuff, in terms of the atmosphere, the setting.
The closest one is probably Thymesia. I think which I reviewed. I think it was last year. What I'm saying is, even if they had
gone, we just want to make look. To be honest with it, if they had said they won't make Bloodborne 2, so fuck it, we will. I would be like, do you know what? Okay, fine, cool. I don't mind.
I tell you what, for all that they have, it's a very, very different setting to Bloodborne. Yeah, it's still got like a 19th century Baroque sort of look to it. It's very, some areas are like the workhouse slums, and some areas are gaudy opera houses, and then you've got like really big industrial areas, old style like steampunk factories and things like that. You've got all these things. There's so much variety in the locations in Lies of P that you can't really. There's not one location where I looked at it and went, "Well, this is just like such and such in Bloodborne." Like I think there's a lot of effort that they've put in themselves, and there's a lot of new stuff. Like their regain mechanic is slightly different to Bloodborne, but they have things like the Legion arm. And so combat at its core is more Sekiro than it is Bloodborne or Dark Souls. I think the combat is, because while you're dodging and you're doing charge attacks, the way I feel the game wants you to play sometimes, certainly where the bosses are concerned, is it wants you to do those perfect parries. There are moves that the enemies do that you cannot block. You can dodge if you're already anticipating the move and you're keeping your distance. If you get caught in it, it does massive damage. Some of them kill you instantly. Some of them lead into combos that kill you instantly, or they stagger you or whatever. So it really wants you. And there I mean, you know that you got the text from me when I was fighting certain bosses, but there was one boss, and I'll say which one it is, but it's the fourth boss of the game, and it's a huge thing. But yeah, and I'm not going to give too many details away because obviously it's not out yet. But it's a huge thing, and it moves so fast. And I wasted so many attempts trying to dodge it and outmaneuver it and then counterattack. And really, all it wanted me to do was perfect parry it a few times in a row. And I staggered it, and then eventually I just killed it. And once I figured that out, it became much easier. But then what Lies of P does is the next boss, you can't get away with just doing the perfect parry because it throws several enemies at you at once. So if you're focused on perfect parrying the one guy, one of the others is going to get you. And it does these things where it does kind of mix it up really, really well. It keeps you constantly on the back foot. And the closest game of that kind is Bloodborne. Bloodborne did the same thing. If you got used to how you had to do a certain boss fight in Bloodborne, it would throw a two-phase boss fight at you, or it would throw, it would throw a fucking giant spider that summons hundreds of fucking ads. And do you know what I mean? It did that sort of stuff, and that's what Lies of P does. And I think my biggest concern with Lies of P is that there's a slight imbalance between, and actually I thought I took it as a positive, but I've seen a lot of people who didn't. But there's a slight imbalance between the exploration difficulty and the bosses. Like, this is a game where you can roam around the cities, roam around the locations quite happily. The enemies aren't going to trouble you too much once you've got their tails down. It's pretty straightforward. You might find a chest. There's loads of stuff to find. It absolutely doesn't waste real estate. There's a chest or an item or something lootable or a secret everywhere in this game. Chris is going to love it when he gets into some of the later areas. But then you'll just hit a mini boss that you just don't even realize necessarily is a mini boss. It's got no health bar. It's just a big enemy, and it'll come at you, and you'll hit it, and you'll do like 180 damage or whatever, but you'll shave a fraction of its health off, and you think, damage, right, here we go, we're fucked. Now it's chip damage for the entire, and then it's like, now I'm dead. Now I go back. Now I'm dead. Now I go, and that's just like it's not a named boss. It's not anything special. Usually they don't respawn, thankfully. But then obviously it takes those enemies later and it will pepper them into the game. So you'll see them and shit yourself. But then they're easier than they were the first time because they were a mini boss then, and now they're not. So it's a game that just keeps you on your toes. It's always surprising. And I put 48 hours into the first playthrough. I did quite a lot of side stuff, quite a lot of extra stuff. I didn't do everything. I did as much as I could find in the review time, because obviously you're kind of on a deadline. So I did as much as I could of side stuff, and it is a game that constantly surprised me with stuff. Every new area, brand new enemies, brand new, and some, like later on you like start to loop a couple of the earlier areas, brand new enemies again. It's really, really very, very clever, and I thought it's just a fantastic game. Best Souls-like I've played that's not made by From Software by probably a country mile.
I think like the more you, it's another one where the more you play of it, the more it reveals itself.
Yeah.
Like it does. I mean, watching the footage back, it's one of those. I don't think you notice some of these things when you're playing it because you're focused on the playing of it. And sometimes there's games where you watch things back and you're like, oh, I didn't notice that. Like, it is inspired by Bloodborne, like whether they would admit that or not. Like even down to like the animations of like how you redeem your, the consumption of the vials sort of thing.
Yeah, when
it
is.
And
he flicks the sword out when he gets his weapon out. He flicks it. It's just the same as even some of the weapons look like Bloodborne weapons.
Because you walk around, like a lot of this reminds me of Bloodborne. And again, I don't want to keep saying this. I don't know how that can be considered a bad thing, because it's my favourite of those games. As it reveals itself and you start to get more knowledge of the game, because it does also do the From thing that's been popularised of, we won't tell you jack shit, and we're going to use words you've never heard, and we're going to make up item names that are not going to be helpful.
At least they're not all blood something, because that was
but like at the same time, when I found a record and I go and play it, and I just was like doing stuff in the hotel, which is like your cathedral or your base or your fire shrine, whatever you want to call it,
which you also bring people back to.
Which you bring people back to as you do, which is again a very FromSoft thing. And I just happened to be there, and I was quite impressed because this record was just a song. There's like a woman singing on it. It's just I don't know if it's licensed or just a piece of music they've created. Doesn't really matter. And then at the end of it, it just goes, "Is it like your cogs are turning?"
Yeah, there's several different messages in that.
And I was like, I don't know what any of this means. And then like when I was getting, you get items before you know what to do with them. You know, like with the pea machine. Yeah, okay, very good. But that was when it was that moment. I don't want to spoil anything story-wise, but the moment when the P stuff opens up and there's a skill tree, and they're like, I haven't seen this before. No, I've seen every other mechanic they've done. You've seen a version of it. It's called something else. They've twisted it their own way. Like, I will actually say, I do think there's an argument to be made that this is one of the more difficult Souls games there are. Because,
I think it is.
Well, because they use the regain mechanic from Bloodborne, whereby if you take a hit, if you hit them back quick enough, you get your health back. That's what the regain mechanic is. But what I don't think it tells you. I'd have to go back and check footage to see if it does. It doesn't tell you, I don't think, is that the enemies also can do that. So there was a boss that I was banging my head up against, and I was like, I can't get this guy's health down. And then when you told me that, I was like, oh, that's because I'm taking damage. Now, the other thing as well is if you hold your sword up as a block, you'll take damage. No matter what, you will take damage when you are blocking.
You
get
have
it
to
back.
perfect parry to avoid taking
yeah.
damage.
And again, I think some of that's a little bit mean and maybe feels a bit like, well, we're even harder. But then also at the same time, after that moment when I saw this skill tree and I was like, oh, that's clever. What an interesting thing. There's ways I can spec my character that aren't just I'm putting X into strength, I'm putting X into motivity or whatever it is they call it. In this one, it's like, oh, I've also got an RPG style skill tree where I can spec towards, oh, I want to unlock that because I want that double dash. And I was thinking, just as you were talking earlier about the red attacks that are you perfect parry, and I was thinking, I wonder if that double dash gets, because sometimes you can avoid them. Even though it tells you can't early on, it's like the red ones aren't avoidable. It's like, they are, mate. I've run away.
You
but
can.
I wonder if when I unlock that, which I haven't yet, that actually will help. You know, I think there's.
Well, you can unlock. Yeah. There's a mechanic that you can unlock where if you get a perfect parry, which I've just unlocked, if you get a perfect parry, no matter what the enemy is, whether it's a boss, a mini boss, anything, if you land a perfect parry, it will cause what it's called. The game calls it stiffness. I mean, it loves its P organs and its stiffness.
Yeah.
But the game calls it stiffness, and essentially it just freezes the enemy for just a second, but it's enough every time for you to get that extra hit in. But going back to what you said about playing the records and the you feel warmth thing. So it has a hidden mechanic which is called humanity in Lies of P. If I hadn't been reviewing the game and if I wasn't privy to some of the things that go on behind the reviewer curtain, I wouldn't have known about humanity. Like I didn't that's not honest knowledge, right? I don't know how anybody would because it's all tied into how often
isn't that
you
the
lie.
Same for every Souls game though?
Well, yeah, well, it's like insight in a way. In Bloodborne, again, where if you get Madman's knowledge, you get insight. The more insight you get, the more shit you see in the world.
Yeah, but at least there's a counter for that. Like,
yeah,
there is no measure. There's often a thing in a Souls game where you see a guide for it and you're like, how did you work that out?
No, but I think so. I'm with Nick on this. Like, I mean, I've only played about 3.5 hours of this, but I have had a few situations where it's like, what is it? Your cogs are turning, your springs are turning, something like that.
Your cogs,
springs are turning, or something. I was like, okay, something's that I've just made. Something's you make decisions sometimes, right? And stuff happens.
But there's no surfaceable knowledge for what that actually means. There's no.
So I'm going
turning.
in the menu,
Okay.
What I was expecting in like when you normally it's like a status menu where I was expecting like some sort of like I don't know, some sort of Mass Effect Paragon thing or something where I'd like to tell me something.
Because I think the first time it happens is when you tell a lie, isn't it, to get into the
right at the beginning when you first need to get into the hotel.
Yeah, you have to. It's not really spoiled. It's in a demo, but you to do that you have to lie, and then it says that. But it does it at other points as well when you make decisions and things like that and stuff. And it did tell me about the music thing, although I haven't listened to something all the way through. So I was like, okay, fine. But like, I don't know what it means, or because
but you're right. It does say you listen to records to restore your humanity, but you aren't explicitly told that isn't a nebulous thing. You might think that it's like, well, I'm a puppet, so it's I listen to music and I feel more human. it seems like a nebulous thing rather than a mechanic. I think.
Yeah.
perhaps.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
ties
exactly.
into the whole. It ties into the whole Pinocchio thing because he wants to be a
course it does,
boy.
yeah.
That's his thing, isn't it? And it's like so. There's one metric by which you can measure humanity.
I know, mate, because I've read it.
Yes, it's in a guide. You can find it on godasageek.com. There's one metric by which you can measure humanity, and that is the cat. There's a cat in the hotel called Spring. If you try and pet the cat, and it hisses at you,
hates me.
and,
Oh my
and
God.
swipes at you.
Yeah.
There's a certain point in the game, if you continue to lie and listen to records and there are certain things as well, choices in the game, not just outright lies,
Yeah.
but there are certain choices in the game that you can make that also improve your humanity. Eventually, when you go and pet the cat, you'll stroke it, then it will jump up on you, then it will sit on you, and you can carry it around for a bit. But that metric, that's the only way. There's nowhere in the menus that tell you what humanity is. There's a visual thing that you can turn on and off later, but it's apart from that, there's no way of measuring what your humanity is. Except, I mean, again, it's in the guide, and I don't want to say it here because it would be a spoiler. If you want to know, go and read the guide, and it'll tell you. It is very tied into the whole lore, if that's what you want to call it, of the Pinocchio.
But can I just also,
novel.
while we're talking about it, I also can't think of another game like this where you have dialogue choices.
No,
That.
well, Steel Rising. The only one
I
I've
didn't
ever
play
played,
much of
Steel
that.
Rising, did have a story. It was a lot of. I liked the story of Steel Rising, but it had a lot of dialogue. It was a lot of talk, and every time you went back to the hub, you had a bunch of boring aristocrats that had to talk for ages. Lies of P doesn't do that, but it's very, very rare to have a story, to have a Souls-like like this, which is such a Souls-like as well, which is not, oh, we've got Souls-like mechanics or we've got Bloodborne-like mechanics. No, this is 100% Bloodborne Souls-like game. Soulsborne, I guess. And it still has a story.
You really hate the genre title Massacre, don't you?
I hate it.
Yeah, I've noticed that you never. I don't like it.
I
either,
will never ever write it without irony because it's a stupid made-up word that doesn't.
I mean, aren't these just
anything.
character action games, but usually with less character in them because they are more about the combat?
I guess. I mean, yeah, probably. I don't. I think Massacre is just a silly word. Like it evokes the whole point that it's somehow masochistic. It's not fucking masochistic.
What's it the portmanteau of? Masochism and
hardcore.
Oh, it's hardcore. Of course, it is. Wow,
Yeah,
that makes it worse. Knowing that somehow makes it worse.
Hardcore masochism.
Yeah, and I mean it's just a silly word. But no, but it is fucking hard. It is really hard. But I have come close to giving up on this game. I came close to giving up on other Souls-like games.
No, really, tell me, Mick. I would.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this. Tell me, please.
Adam's woken up to 3 a.m. rage.
There was one. I've been
worry,
saving
I'll
this
beat
for
it
the
now.
podcast, right? So people who don't know, Mick we've joked about when you put a book together of our Souls texts to one another, and there was for the very first time I saw them all coming through, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait, and then there was a lot of silence, and then there was done it, and it's like, and there was like just this half an hour period where I didn't reply, and I thought,
it's so funny because I just imagine in your brain you're like, right, I'm not quite at the pissed off level where I have to tell everyone else how pissed off I am, and then it's like, you know, at that point, well, he must have played the boss a fair amount of time, so he knows it. He's like, just give him half hour. And he'll have cracked it, and it's so many times where you.
I do.
Like,
I'm happy to be a sounding board.
Killed him.
I complete a surprising number of bosses first time, right? But if I don't get it first time, it's going to be 10th, 11th, 12th time. One of them in Lies of P took me 25 attempts because I was counting my summons. It's the one where the first time you do it, you nearly beat it, and and you think,
you can't get that close again. I do think I was thinking about bosses as well recently, and because of obviously this game and with Lords of the Fallen coming out, and I was thinking about it as we discussed. We've had discussions like this in our Patreon Discord as well, which you can join for $1 or £1 a month. Patreon.com/GodIsAGeek to find out more. I've seen a lot of sort of complaints about bosses recently, not from Mick, I mean generally, and it's like, do people now suddenly want to like play a game and just walk through it, and the boss be done first time, because it's not much of a boss if you do every boss first time. You should have to learn its patterns, and that's not a Souls thing, by the way. We're talking Devil May Cry.
I've never understood, because people made this criticism of Sea of Stars, right, where it's like the bosses take ages. Well, they fucking should.
Sorry, did they?
Yeah. Oh, did you not see? Like, because
No, I
they were
don't
like,
see
oh,
any of it, mate.
no, they were like, because some of the bosses are. We've talked about the bosses aren't hard, but some of them are quite long. Do you know what I mean? They just.
I
Take
think
some
of the
time.
bosses in Sea of Stars as quite tactical affairs because you have to
Yeah,
think
of
about
course,
what
yeah,
moves
yeah,
you've got to stop to break their locks and stop
100%.
them, and then
100%.
yeah.
So, but like, I've always been of the opinion, whether it's this genre or whatever, it's like bosses should be hard. Otherwise, what is the fucking point?
No,
like,
I will say, Mick saying 25. That's pushing it.
Oh, that's because
That's
he's not
quite a
very good.
lot.
We've been
Yeah, no,
here
we know
before.
he's
I'm not
shit. But
very
what I'm
good,
saying
this
is
is
that
true.
25 is a lot. I would have
remember
walked
when
away
I
after
wasted so many
9. I
lives
think.
trying things. Like I'll just
Oh,
try
okay.
that weapon this time.
When
I
you,
know full
it's
well
when you,
probably
it's
not
when
gonna
you
work.
waltz into Elden Ring and then you do the fire giant whilst he's still having a nervous breakdown. And you're like,
Oh.
sorry, just beat
Do you know
it.
what though? I did it the very next attempt. You were
Yeah.
like, I've done it, and then I was like, done it. Like,
Yeah, I know.
It took me hours to do the fire giant.
I've been playing about. I could just bring it back to Lies of P. Just I really love it, and I will play more of it. I'm not as like loving it as you two are. I just feel like, and I'm hoping it grows on me because it has grown on me. I didn't like the demo actually, and I like now I've played a bit more of it.
I
I
didn't
like
either, to be fair.
I like more of it now. I remember saying to Adam, I didn't really get on with the demo.
I wasn't looking forward to reviewing it because of the demo.
No, exactly. There you go. But like, I look at it and I just go, I'm not. And maybe this is how I'm playing it because this could very much be. This could reveal more than I maybe want it to. But like, I don't find the combat as fluid as Bloodborne, and I also don't find the stagger mechanics as well implemented as Sekiro. So when I get those two comparisons, I'm like, I see the influences, I absolutely do, but I don't see the execution at the same.
Have you upgraded your stagger mechanic yet?
What's that?
Have you upgraded
No,
your
but
stagger
what I mean
mechanic
is
yet?
in obviously in something like Sekiro where it's built on the stagger mechanic and then you wear it down and then you get a window to do a powerful attack. That is in here, but unless I'm missing something, I don't know when that's going to happen. There's not a meter to fill up.
No, I get what you're saying. So no, you do. I think there are certain skills you can unlock which make it a little bit clearer. Like there are. I'm not making excuses for it. I get what you're saying. But like there are things in the P organ that you can. You can make that bar last longer, and also there are
that make it last longer. But
but if you go into the weapon descriptions, they will tell you like this causes it. There are certain skills, like doing a fully charged heavy attack with certain weapons can create that. Like I think there are descriptions in weapons for those.
Not every game has to do stagger like Sekiro. I guess like what I'm, and this can be its own entity and still have stagger. I guess I'm just like I'm looking at it going. I just feel like that did that a little bit better, but then none of them do some of the stuff Lies of P is trying to do. So I'm intrigued to see more of it, to see where it lands on its own.
I mean, you can absolutely get through fights without the stagger mechanic. There are some
I've got
bosses.
Through all of them at the moment.
I mean, I generally don't try and do it unless it's a boss, unless it's one of the main bosses, and I'm like, I just cannot get out of the way of that move quick enough because I'm not fast enough, or that's so like this. The Lies of P does a thing with its bosses a lot of the time where you can play the boss 3 or 4 attempts, and then the 5th attempt it'll do something you haven't seen it do before, and you go, where the fuck did that come from? It does that a lot. And sometimes it'll start the fight in the exact same way 3 or 4 times in a row. When you're struggling, you'll go in and you die, and then the 5th time it'll just go different move right off the bat, so it throws you straight away. If you get your dodges right and you get your spacing right and you give yourself time to do those charged attacks, 2 or 3 charged attacks, if you can land them in a fairly short period of time, you can still get the stagger in. You don't always have to get the parry. It just becomes much easier if you can master the timing.
I guess this is the point. Like I could always see in something like Sekiro, if I was taking too much time and it was dispersing, versus actually I was getting enough hits in to build up a stagger. Whereas to be honest, every time I get into a position where I could stagger them, it's a surprise. Like, oh shit, it's gone white. Right, okay, right. Let's see if I can get maybe that's me. Like I say, maybe that's me, and it doesn't have to do it.
I get
way.
it. I just haven't really been bothered by it, if that makes sense. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, I'm not bothered by it. What I'm saying
the biggest
is,
thing
like,
for me is
I feel like I said at the moment.
See, I feel it's more like Bloodborne and Souls, where like if you just beat the shit out of them long enough, they will eventually stagger. That like, I know Sekiro does it
true.
better.
And like I say, I will agree with you guys about the variety of bosses because, like I say, I've done 3 so far. They've all been very different. The first boss you do has 2 phases, and you have to treat both phases incredibly differently if you want to win. And I think, and each one I've played, I've probably tackled differently as well. So I like the fact that there's different ways in which you can, like you say, it's not just the same thing over and over again, the way you overcome the bosses. So I've really enjoyed that. And they've all felt different to overcome. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not looking forward to boss number 4, which apparently Mick thinks is like, like a brick wall. So I look forward to, throwing my controller, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm waiting for me to be like super wowed, like the 10 you've given it, Mick, and that's what I'm not getting right yet.
Yeah,
but
we can move on to a game. Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say another thing I'd say is that
fine.
It very much rewards you. Did I miss something?
No.
I just say, carry on, mate.
I was going to say one thing that it does is it very much rewards you for those boss fights. Like, it's incredibly well paced, I think, Lies of P, and it leaves some things a little bit late sometimes. Like there's a guide out on God is a Geek right now about the respec, because you can respec, so it does that really late in the game. But you are constantly rewarded with either a new weapon or an outfit or something, and then every time you spend ages and ages and ages on a boss fight, just like in previous like Souls games, you beat that boss fight, and then comfortably now you got a couple of hours to just explore, to just feel out the game, to go back to previous areas, and I think it's just really well paced.
It is, and I will say I really do like the level design and the sense of progression and stuff. That's all done really well. Like, it's a lot of good like the whole like shortcutty stuff they do with like the gates and stuff, and you always feel like. And there's good pacing with I forget what they're called. Sorry, the bonfire. Was it
the Stargate?
Just call them bonfires, mate.
They
are bonfires.
Yeah. Like the way all that stuff is placed, like is very well done as well, because like there isn't too much distance, but there's enough to push you, and I feel like it's just a good balance. Like I am really enjoying it. I sound like really negative today. I'm like really enjoying
There's
2
a lot
games.
to talk about.
Shitting on both of them, but I'm not. I really like both of them, and I'm glad they exist. And
speaking of games that it doesn't work. You gave me the perfect segue. Now I can't take it.
So what did you say again?
I can't remember. It was something about like it's. Listen.
It's like when I'm playing Lies of P. It's like in the evening. It's like the night.
That's not. No. Absolutely not. That's disgraceful.
Yeah, good.
Lyle and I have been playing a game called Eternights. Well, Lyle's finished a game called Eternights, and I've not. And I want to talk about it. And we've also got Gunbrella to talk about and listen to Correspondence. We probably won't talk about Eternights for very long, but I wanted to talk about it for a very specific reason. This is probably going to end up on my own personal list of well, we don't do awards for this, but most frustrating game of 2023. Lyle, I wonder if you can tell the readers and listeners rather why.
I imagine it's going to be because this game could be like a 9+ game if there weren't a few things about it that very much do not make that the case. Something along those lines.
I think
great.
There are elements of this game, if they were better, we could be talking about it in the top 10 of the end of this year lists. It for me is basically something I've wanted in a very long time. I love Persona. Lyle, I know you do too, very much so. I like the spin-offs. I just like everything about the Persona games. I just think they're just great. I love that they still exist, because like there's not many out there that are as dedicated to making that kind of game in this era still. I don't think. This is that, but without the need for you to spend 100 hours on it. This is that. Yep. And not that I have a problem with turn-based games, because I don't. I love them. But this is that with... So basically they're taking the social elements of Persona and they've added in a hack-and-slash game like a DMC or a Bayonetta with the bullet time and the witch time and all that. And if we could stop there and just say, and that's what this game is, I think we're golden. But it then starts adding other shit in, and
It does. It has issues. I mean,
There's too much game in this game.
No, there is though. There is like that's not even like there was a section in early on, well, early to mid, Lyle, in there where it turns just for a brief moment into limbo. But not like a good limbo. Like if it was
like bad limbo.
yeah.
It turns into bad limbo for a bit.
Bimbo.
Bimbo, we call it. And then there's another bit where you'll have to do a little dancing mini game that we had to write a guide for because it's so badly explained and painful to play that that's kind of needed.
Yeah, even when you know how to do it, it doesn't mean it's any good. It's still
no,
not good.
it's not. And like it's pressing a button in time with the rhythm, but it doesn't explain what is when you're supposed to do it. Or helpfully, it
sounds
really not
horrendous.
pleasant. And then
What did you score it, Lyle? I didn't.
what did I score it? Like a 6.5 or something along those lines.
I think so.
So not awful. It's not awful.
No, yeah, it's like I enjoyed playing it through. It has good bits. The combat alongside it as well. I think the combat is like very one note. Like you don't really need to do what you need to do in every fight is. An enemy will glow red when it's about to attack, and as long as you roll when it glows red, time will like slow down and you won't take damage, so you can just sort of wail on it for a while until then you can use like a special attack, and you just do that forever, essentially, for the whole game, really. Like the final boss is the same as the first enemy you fight, just it takes longer to kill. You just roll at the right time. It's not bad, it's enjoyable enough, but it can't really carry the whole game. And yeah, it's the little things, the random elements that pop up. I mentioned in my review a very specific end of game section where whichever character you have the strongest bond with and thus gives you the most powerful like of your abilities is like kidnapped. So suddenly the person I put all my time into and was behind every healing ability I had vanished from my party for like, you know, this hour-long segment that ended in the final boss where I wasn't allowed to heal suddenly. And because of that, the final boss
I did hear that
shit.
in that's in the short version as well, isn't it? And I was just like, that sounds like a massive kick in the teeth.
Like it was just like, why did you let me level them up? I would have just not. Like you've made me feel like I've wasted all my time.
It's like most games would do it the reverse. Like I've played games. I think Tales of Symphonia does this, where like you have affinity with all the characters, and then the ones you have the lowest with fuck off or get draw the short straw with stuff. But to say, oh no, fuck you, the one you like the most is just gone.
Yeah, but I was playing this, and I was playing this section, and I was thinking, okay, so this is going to happen for a while, and it's supposed to be a bit punishing, and then there'll be this like big final flourish where I get them back, and it'll be this great moment where I get to like feel powerful again. Nope. Nope, I just have to deal with a boss that's suddenly harder than the entire rest of the game by like a country fucking mile. It's a shame. It's a fun game to play. It has a lot of soul to it. Like the writing is.
I was going to say we need to talk about the writing because the writing's funny. It's actually funny. Not like, again, I always use this phrase. It's not game funny. It's actually funny. Like, you know, there's a scene where you have to go and find someone on a train, and you go past each of the individual doors, and it says, "Oh, I can hear the sound of sleeping." For I think it's Yuna, and then your mate, who's a bit of a, I mean, he's not. I don't think he's a pervert really. He's a teenager.
It's like there's always a pervy character in Persona.
Yeah, but I'd argue he's no more pervy than most teenagers with their jazz magazines and that sort of thing. Yeah, he's certainly no more. But like anyway, you walk past his room. And you press the button because you think, is it that door? And then it goes, oh, nope, I know the sound of a man having fun. And it's just sort of, it doesn't go like full pervy. It's quite cheeky and it's quite risque at times. But like,
in the room,
I kind of like it. Like, Lyle, like, sort of totally saluting what you say. That like it's got a lot of heart to it, and it's almost. I think it's a really small development team of one, isn't it, or something? And it's like if you actually just focused on the social stuff and the combat. And there are some of the mini games that are fine, but
we've discussed indie games before where they've done that. You know, where you've got just a great core concept and a great few new mechanics that work really well. And then sometimes I think that like there's a temptation for indie developers to try and prove something, so they just cram stuff in.
But there's it's also, by the way, not just funny. It's really dark at times. Like there's a scene really early on when before you've even got your powers, where you meet there's like an idol sort of singer, it's that kind of thing, and you meet her, and she's with her friend, and I wasn't expecting what happened to her friend to happen in such a sudden and quite graphically brutal way.
Yeah,
and
I
was
assumed that person
okay.
was a party member, and
I thought that was
she's
the
not.
case. I was like, well, this is a part. Oh, okay, they're not. No, they're not. They're definitely not.
Nope.
Unless, but then I do get my arm chopped off, but again, like the very smallest of spoilers. If you're gonna go in and you don't want to know anything, there's a scene early on where you go to meet this idol in her room on the train, and she's getting changed, and you see her bra, and it's got ducks. Is it ducks?
Teddy bears.
Teddy bears.
I
Okay.
hate being the one who knows this.
I mean, I don't know how on Earth you've got that and I've forgotten, but whatever. Later on, a scene happens where you fall out of a really high area, and he's the only one with those kind of powers to save them, and they're like, save us, and he shuts his eyes, and all he can think of is her bra, and his arm turns into this giant parachute bra that she was wearing, and then like you get on the ground and you land, and she's like, really? And you've got a couple of dialogue options, and one of them is like, sorry, like, and that's the thing, the dialogue options are kind of, you can tell it's written by a human being, if that makes sense. You don't look at this and go, oh, Chat GPT or so, you know what I mean? You read them, you're like, these are human responses, and there's I know I've got because I don't think people will play this, and I have to get this because it's one of my favourite moments this year actually. When you meet, I think not the last character, the penultimate party member, who I forgot the name of. Was it Min? Black-haired one.
Yes, I think
Min.
so. Yes.
She's the one you have to do the limbo game with, but when you meet her, you both fall, and this is their way of sort of forcing you to play with her and learn her power. You fall through this, hole, and you land, and you've just smashed through concrete, and she's landed, and her hand is right on your crotch where she's landed like that, and you're sort of teens, and she's hideously embarrassed, and I think one of the dialogue options, which is what most of us would do, would be like, it's all right, it's fine, don't worry, and she's like, oh really? And this is the bit, and I thought this was really clever writing and clever design. I didn't spot it until the dialogue option is after. So you've gone, it's fine, don't worry. She's gone, oh, thank you so much. And then your next dialogue option is, you're still doing it. Because she's still got her hand there. And she's like, double. And I think that's really that's kind of whip smart writing. Like, that's really clever. And like, it's not crass or grotesque or pervy in any way. It's just funny. And there are other options. I think one of the other options is like, carry on. You can choose the sort of dirtier option, I guess. I don't know what the outcome is, but I love
Lyle,
the fact.
what's the outcome?
Yeah.
No, I chose the same. Unfortunately,
I love the fact that option is you're still doing it. It kind of reminded me of comedies of my youth where it's like, oh, you still, you know what I mean? It just,
yeah.
But it's then you've got like the dance mini game, and then you've got like the fact that I think some of the grunt enemies kill you too quickly, and the dodge roll, some of them it's like it's really like it's a big red circle. Some of them it's like it does it as they're attacking you, and you're like shit. And I found that actually I'm going to enjoy this more if I just drop the difficulty and just play it on easy, because like I like every other aspect apart from the dancing mini game. And I don't want to not like it, but also at the same time, into a critical head on, you're like, well, look, and I think I like it a bit more than Lyle, actually, but then he's finished it and I haven't. So the stuff you're talking about isn't worn on me yet, because I've not,
Yeah, but yeah, it seems like that was the way it felt like we were leaning as we were talking about it, because you were saying you couldn't stop like thinking about it and wanting to play it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm having an all right time. Like it's good, but no, it's like it has its problems, but I'm glad it exists, and
that's exactly it, man. Nice. That's exactly it. I'm so glad it exists, and that's why I wanted to give it a little spotlight here, because I'm so glad it exists, and it's not perfect, and it's like it's got some bad stuff in it. But like it's one. Do you remember how everyone used to talk about Assassin's Creed 2 about how like it's that kind of thing? Like if they made an Eternights 2 and learned all the lessons that you needed to learn, you would be talking about some serious gaming then. But we can also talk about a game called Gunbrella, Lyle.
Yes, we can. Which is a game I will throw a bit more praise on than Eternights. I think Gunbrella is awesome. It is a action platformer where, shock, gasp, you guessed it, your main weapon is a gun combined with an umbrella, known as a Gunbrella. And what that realistically means is that you have this weapon throughout the entire game, which helps you have like the most awesome locomotion you realistically could in a platformer, where you open it in any direction you're pointing, and the moment you open it, you like boost in that direction. So you do like an immediate dash. And obviously you can float down with it, as you'd expect from any video game umbrella. You can do a little pogo in it to just hop along the floor. It's not really that useful. It's just kind of fun. And alongside that, it is equipped with infinite shotgun shells that you can just blast enemies apart with. And it's a game where I was kind of expecting it to be this, like before I previewed it a couple of months ago, I was expecting it to be this sort of like one of the many Metroidvanias that we get every year, where you'd be exploring a big world with this cool mechanic. And I imagined that would be fun. But I think what's really cool about Gunbrella is it isn't that. It's a much more tight, linear, like adventure. Like you have very specific objectives. It's not got this like you're not. There are secrets and side objectives as well, but realistically, you are sort of following a fairly critical path, like a fairly like obvious critical path, and it just, everything it does is so interesting. It has a really like surprisingly dark and surprisingly like emotional story. Like the story is the main character you don't find out the name of for like the first half of the game. He just doesn't speak, and his daughter was kidnapped, and his wife was murdered by this man who just left behind this Gunbrella, and that's the only thing he knows about this guy. So he just goes across like the world exploring this like poverty-stricken, like sort of almost Wild West, constantly raining kind of grim land, and trying to looking for revenge essentially. And along the way he discovers that there's a cult that is trying to reanimate blood monsters by just sacrificing as many people as possible. Like you'll have an objective at one point where you are like really early on, where it's like, okay, you have to try and help find this person. I was expecting them to come on the train and they haven't come to visit me. I've got this letter for them. So if you go find them in the next town, and they're like locked up in this prison, and this like floating wraith monster just like spawns in and swoops down and just engulfs them, and they're dead. And that's the end of your quest. Your quest is, well, they died. Sorry. And there are some really like there are some
fucking dark, man.
It's really dark. And the end of the game was like, I can't spoil anything about like the last like 30 minutes of the game, but the last 30 minutes of the game are a fucking ride. Like you are not prepared for the last 30 minutes of this game. But like it's a 5-hour game. It doesn't take too long. And
I was going to ask you that because I played a very small bit of it, and I remembered reading your preview where you were basically said like what you said about previewing it earlier, where you said you thought it was going to be like this big long thing, and it isn't. 5 hours. No. That's a surprise.
5 hours. Yeah, 5 hours. I wasn't
sure I was going to get to go back to it, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. But now you've said that, I'm like, if it's only 5 hours.
The preview I got to do, I didn't realise how much of it was, but the preview was almost exactly half the game. So having to play that first half of the game again was a little annoying, I'll admit, because it didn't get to carry on from there. But that's the job. And it's a good enough game that's fine, obviously. It's like it doesn't outstay its welcome at all. It's got fantastic boss fights. Like there's some really awesome, like difficult, but like once you know what you're doing, like it will take you like maybe 4 attempts. It's not quite Lies of P with Mick, it's got some tough but like enjoyable levels of tough boss fights. There are some really cool set pieces where, like, again, I don't really want to spoil because it's such a short game, all these things necessarily, but like there are some really cool sections where you just like everything kicks off and it's you don't expect it, and it just feels great to play. I really, really enjoyed pretty much everything about the game. It got a 9.5, the reviews on the site, and I highly recommend playing Gunbrella. It's great.
On PC and Switch, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we both played on PC. I don't know about the Switch version. I guess I'd imagine, I haven't played it on there, but I would imagine very good on Steam Deck.
Yeah, absolutely flawless.
Might be worth a play, actually.
Perfect for that.
Well, listen, we've got to do listener correspondence, but we should just shout out briefly that there's some games we can talk about. Maybe it's do you want to hear anything about like Cocoon, which I can talk about in a preview sense, or next week we will talk about some Cyberpunk 2077 because Mick and I have been playing the 2.0 patch of that, and we are allowed to say we will be playing the DLC. What else is there? There's a lot at the moment going on. Like Mortal Kombat 1's just come out. Sort of. I can't remember because the way they do early access with these games. We'll talk about that next week. Nice to get Chris on there, Chris White, if we can get him to talk about that. There's a lot of video games to talk about at the moment. I mean, we just had a State of Play and a Nintendo Direct on the same day, announcing even more for next year. Side note, I was a bit gutted that Helldivers 2 is now 2024. Kind of thought it would be, but I really do want to play that game, and that's the cool. Right, so it's time for...
Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde. Right, let's do this then. So Mick sent him some questions for each of us individually, but the first couple are actually for all of us together. So the first one is, what do you want to play from October?
Do you want the list?
Yes, please.
Because I will say, right, I update our list, and September was pretty big. Yeah. October's now
massive.
It's ridiculous. So on godisgeek.com you can find the game release dates for 2023, and here is October's. I'm not going to read the dates, but they are in order from the beginning to the end. So Silent Hope, Battle Shapers, Station to Station, Warhammer 40k Darktide, Hellboy, Web of Word,
yeah, that one.
Worldless, The Fabulous Fear Machine, The Gap, Wargroove 2 just announced, Cricket 24, Disgaea 7, Detective Pikachu Returns. By the way, we're still in the first week of October, just so you're aware. Moving into the second week of October, Forza Motorsport, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Star Trek Infinite, River City Rival Showdown, Lords of the Fallen, Endless Dungeon, Wizard with a Gun, Sonic Superstars, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Total War Pharaoh, Cities Skyline 2, it sounds like I'm doing the football pools. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. I've just aged myself, haven't I? Football pools. Oh my god.
Mate, I got it, mate.
Doesn't matter. The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, Just Dance 2024 edition, Ghost Runner 2, Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord, PSVR 2, that was just announced as well, Alan Wake 2, Jusant, and Headbangers Rhythm Royale. Fucking hell.
Fuck.
I don't think I could make that into a YouTube short, even if I was like, here's 2023. Yeah. I think it's too long. I think it's longer than a minute.
Yeah, you'd go over the time. Okay. So, I mean, there's some obvious bangers in there. I'm keen to see Mirage. Just to pick some less obvious ones, I think. Spread it out. And Lords of the Fallen as well. I'm really keen because I actually really like. I've said a couple of times on the pod. I really like the original. Just enjoyed it. Just had a good time with it. So I'm keen.
I think at the time the original was very ambitious because no one else had tried the Souls-like before they did, apart from FromSoft. And I mean, I said it was shit earlier. I was being facetious. I think I reviewed it back in the day, and I did quite like it. I gave it an 8 or 7. I can't remember.
Yeah. I'll leave some of the other ones open for other people to announce because
so what did you go for?
Other ones as well.
You went for
Mirage, Assassin's Creed Mirage, and Lords of the Fallen.
I think we have to narrow it down to one each.
Lords of the Fallen.
So you've taken it. No, that's fine. So can anyone else go straight away or?
Well, so this is out of that list you just read. One game we're most looking
Dare
for.
ask me to read that again? Yeah, one game that you are like. I mean, he hasn't said that, but let's make it fun. What do you want to play for October? I mean, everything is the answer, but let's pick one.
When's Spider-Man?
Yes, October 20th.
Yeah, take that off.
No, sorry, Mick. That's no. Let me just.
Okay. Endless Dungeon.
No, you can have Spider-Man, mate. You can have Spider-Man.
I do want Spider-Man. I really want Lords of the Fallen, but Endless Dungeon got my attention when you previewed it, and then it got delayed. I think.
Yeah, it did. It was May. I think it was supposed to be.
Because I think we were talking about when you were previewing it, and
oh yeah, that's such a Mick game. It's untrue.
Yeah, it really got my attention, that one, and I do think I'm going to really enjoy that when it hits. I'm going to say Endless Dungeon. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Lords of the Fallen, Endless Dungeon. Lyle, do you want to go or?
Yeah, I'm going to say Sonic Superstars because I'm excited to see what that's like. It's been a while since we had a brand new 2D Sonic game, and around this time last year was Sonic Frontiers, which I ended up really loving. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens next with Sonic, and I think it looks exciting, and hopefully it's another really good Sonic game that can continue the trend that Sonic is doing pretty good at the moment, unexpectedly.
Okay, so Lords of the Fallen, Sonic, Superstars, and I've forgotten what mix it. Endless Dungeon, and the fourth one. I have to stay. There's a lot of good games in October, but I have to stay true to my heart and say Alan Wake 2. Like I don't know if anyone saw.
So none of the top list is Wonder or
I did. I know. Of course, it's Spider-Man and Wonder, but I just.
I
want
left
to be a
those for you guys.
Yeah. No,
I want to play Wonder.
The reason I say Alan Wake 2 is like I don't know if anyone saw it recently, but IGN had they did the IGN first thing, and it's the first time I've seen like a significant amount of gameplay footage, and that game looks unreal, like visually. I mean, I don't know what it feels like to play, but in terms of visuals, it's like wow, holy shit. I know they've done it. Remedy have always made pretty nice looking games, but like wowzer. And also I really loved Alan Wake at the time on 360. I love the idea behind it. And I loved. I mean, Control is even. I know that some people don't like it. I loved Control. That game was magnificent. I'm always there for what Remedy are willing to put out, and like I have waited a very long time for this game that I thought we would never see.
It didn't feel like it was coming at all.
No, I never thought we were going to get it. I heard rumours, and and once Control came out and did so well, I thought, well, they'll just make a Control 2. But then they did the Alan Wake teaser and the AWE expansion. It's like, don't do this to me. So
I was going to say, it's like, oh, are they? Aren't they?
I'm a little bit trepidatious.
Well, it's all in universe, so
it is.
You will get a Control 2, I'm sure.
Well, you will. But I'm a little bit trepidatious about the dual protagonist stuff. But until I play it, I don't know. So, and also, I trust them. They seem to write well for both male and female characters because we've had that. Control was fantastic. Alan Wake I love. So I don't know. I just don't. It's just one of those things where you're like, I've been waiting for Alan Wake 2. I hope there's a lot of Alan in that game. But also I don't know because the story's. Yeah, Alan Wake 2. I cannot wait for that game. It looks so good.
Okay, what was your favourite announcement from the Direct and State of Play?
Look, this isn't even a debate for me. It's the remake of Thousand Year Door.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Like, this is not a discussion we can have. Like, we've all heard the rumours of this. I played Thousand Year Door within the last 12 months, and I actually had a conversation with Sean.
You wish you hadn't.
No, it's not so much that. I did the same with Metroid Prime, if you remember.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So I don't know. What should I play next, lads? And
I was going to say,
what do we need? And I'll go. But like, that game has not aged a day. It has not aged a day. The idea that they are going to... I don't know that I'll play it and be blown away because I've played it recently and I've loved it anyway. But the idea that there will be... Because what is that game? 20 years old?
Yeah, it's GameCube, isn't it? So probably getting on for 20.
So there will be people who have not played it and are now going to play it.
I've never
played
1,000 Year Door.
So
I will play the remake when it's...
That's the pervy robot one, isn't it? The one the robot that pervs on Peach.
Yes. Sorry, I was like, what are you talking about? Yes, they showed a bit of that in the Direct.
Yeah, not central mechanic to the game, but
I don't think that's what they are. I don't think that's what they're going
about
for.
Atomic Heart.
No, I think they're talking. I think it was to be more romantic. Yeah. No, it is very much a "you taught me how to love Princess Peach" kind of thing. Yeah. It is very much that. I like that's for me that.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I didn't know if we were like doing one from the Direct, one from the State of Play, but I mean,
we can. I mean. I can easily do mine from there as well. It'd be Resident Evil VR. Like, I wasn't sure if the Resident Evil 4 VR thing was going to be A, free, which it is, and B, the whole game, because that game's very, very, very good looking and very long for a Resident Evil game, as the original was.
Yeah.
From what they've shown, it must be the whole game. That's impressive to me. I don't want to play it.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed by it.
Especially not certain sections of it, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mine is the Tales of Arise DLC. Didn't see that come in at all.
Mine is similarly DLC related, but the Ada assignment for Resident Evil 4. Because, I want to play more of that game.
We kind of like...
behind, I haven't even watched either.
It was kind of guessed it would be coming, but it's good to see it, right? The
Ada stuff. Totally.
And it's next week.
Yeah,
it is next week. You fuckers. I mean,
that's kind of. Normally, I'd be like, reason to play Resident Evil, but I was also a bit like, could do it next year if you want, lads. It's absolutely fine. Yeah. January sounds great.
January,
yeah, January 14th. Yeah, fine. I will just. I don't know what the reactions to this has been like, but I was quite pleased to see that. I love the 99 games. And F-Zero 99 is like, that's
right.
great. But I'm
It
imagining the
is.
results of that have been that everyone angry that it's not a new F-Zero.
That's
Yeah.
my gut reaction to it, because I'll be
But they
honest, I
might
didn't
make
see
one
it.
if this does well. But they've got
Well, this
Mario
is the thing.
Kart, so like,
I didn't see the direct live, right? So of course I see like F-Zero announced in the direct. I was like,
oh mate,
holy fuck! I went F-Zero 99, and I was just like, I felt like it was a roller coaster of a 30
but
seconds.
it does look
for
pretty
me.
cool, like the way you can customize.
No,
it looks
bet
really cool.
the idea,
Mario 99 or whatever it was, Mario. Fuck, what was it? It wasn't
Yeah, that
99, was it?
Yeah, I mean, F-Zero is essentially what the 99s is. It's just with 99 people. I imagine it's fucking carnage, like a race with 99 competitors, which is presumably what it is. I imagine that's absolutely crazy. But that's essentially what F-Zero is. You're just trying to survive, right, through most of the harder tracks. So I like the idea of it. If it leads to an F-Zero, I'll be turgid. Like I mean, that's just like I couldn't. Yeah. That's the only reason why I was a bit down on that, because I was like, I thought what it was, and then it wasn't. But...
A lot of the things, I think, including Thousand Year Door, a lot of the things they announced that we didn't know about. I said this to my kids. They really strike me as almost end of generation things.
Yes, this is the thing.
Like,
it very much wasn't. There wasn't. It was a good direct, but it wasn't like, shit, that's coming now. Like, like this new thing, which you feel like, okay. You're just padding it. Not pad, that sounds really harsh, but you know what I mean? Just like...
No, it's trying to eke out the last few quid out of a generation that we all know is going to be usurped eventually.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be. When was it? 17. So it's six years.
My bet would be on a February announce and a November release
February
or something
or
like
April financial year,
maybe. Yeah, maybe. Could be February.
But I would be amazed if it's later than that.
It feels like what they announced were like... then like sort of the first 6 months of next year, or maybe a bit longer, to just sort of finish off on the Switch, and
it's kind of what they're not showing as well for me. Like how have we never heard? How has there been one 3D Mario this gen? Like where's Metroid 4? It's kind of what they're not showing. Like I know there's all these. What was the Zelda game that everyone says is coming but hasn't been announced yet? The HD was it Twilight? Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if that was the big deal for the next direct. Yeah, but then after that it will be Switch 2, or whatever.
Yeah,
they'd be mad, right, if they don't call it the Super Nintendo Switch, right?
They do.
Yeah, you've said that since
before, 2017. And we all agree.
I know.
Yeah, Super Nintendo Switch.
But it would be mad, right, to literally not go back to the Super Nintendo again, wouldn't it? That would be mad. To not go to have a thing that people could say, I'm playing on my Super Nintendo again, given the success of the SNES.
You just don't want to be
Nintendo 64 or a Super.
Whatever they do, they don't want to be in a Wii U situation where people didn't realize it was a different thing.
But that's why you call it the Super Nintendo Small.
Oh, I know, but you think a U would be enough for people, but it wasn't. Like, some people was like, is it the same thing? No, it's not. It's a completely new console. That wasn't the only reason why the Wii U didn't do well. Do
you think? Well, no, this isn't the pod. But go on, carry on, Chris. Anyone else got any? Well, Mick didn't watch them, so he don't care.
I haven't watched them. No, I will catch up, but I haven't.
We should enjoy the Final Fantasy VII stuff.
We should have just made some shit up and seen Mick's face.
Yeah, we could have done that.
Yeah,
I'm unshockable.
I thought my joke from the beginning of that was quite good in Discord and got no respect. The opening of that was like what was the game from the Bennett Foddy people called? Baby Steps. And my joke was, Death Stranding 2 then, because in Death Stranding, of course, you have to do the walk-ins thing. And I thought that was really clever, and I don't think he got anywhere near the credit it deserved. But whatever. It's not the place to...
It's clearly not been, like, stewing with you.
I just thought it was way better. Look, we all have hits and misses. I just thought it was way better than it is. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, mate. I will go into the Discord, find it, and put an emoji reaction to it.
Please. That would mean the world to me.
Pity emoji.
Yeah. Okay, so then Mick sent us all separate questions as well. So Adam, I'll do yours first.
Okay.
What quality of life features do you want in Starfield Xbox patches? Do you think they'll improve the load times?
We kind of covered all that. I feel like I think they'll. Well, it's interesting to me how forward they've been. Like I covered the patch notes recently where they enabled like the DLSS stuff for PC, and They kind of based. They literally said. I was going to say they kind of said. They literally said we are going to be supporting this game for, and I quote, years and years, right? And they mentioned that they have been paying attention to what others have said, and like they didn't say they were doing it, but they specifically mentioned that they had seen people talking about city maps.
Yeah.
So I think their
They
roadmap
could do
is
very, very well if they listen to the community.
Well,
and
I think they
do
are.
those things.
I
hope they do
would
that.
welcome city maps. I
Yeah.
really would.
I thought I was not using the maps correctly at first until I realised that they aren't maps; they're just sets of waypoints in an area.
No, I just
but-
have to use the waypoints to figure out, and just
Yeah.
over time you build up a sense of space.
Well, I just started fast
awareness and
traveling.
stuff.
Yeah.
Once you unlock, but as for I don't think they can. I think if they could make the load times like other console exclusives, I think they would have. I think there's something. I think it's to do with the persistence of items. Like they showed that thing pre-release where someone put loads of sandwiches,
All the foam cups and the
Yeah.
potatoes.
and I think that would. I mean, I'm making excuses from now as well, because what about like when you go to Mars and you go through a door? That's always the same. The other side of that door. It's always that place. That other side of that door. I'm not talking about the persistent stuff in the world that you can affect. I'm talking about room. Like I don't know. No, I don't think they will. No. So no.
Okie doke. Lyle, what would you like to see fixed in Eternights updates?
I don't know if the things that they need to fix in Eternights could really be done in just some updates. They could definitely fix the dancing minigame, or
They
just
did
sort
say
of
that they were
make
going to patch a tutorial in for that. I haven't
They
seen
did
it
say
since, but I don't know.
No,
I think we'd
so-
already gone past it at that point. So
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, some of the smaller mini games that aren't as good could probably be patched to be made a little better, or just a little briefer, or something like that. Limbo section we mentioned could maybe just like there were a few bits of that just went on a bit long and were a little bit trickier than it would maybe be nice to. But I think a lot of that game would be kind of hard to patch, because I kind of think what it's all kind of the core of everything, really. Like
there's nothing that needs patching. That's well, the dance minigame is a bit.
the dance
broken.
minigame's the answer, I guess, isn't
Yeah,
it?
Yeah.
but there's nothing else that's broken, is there? It's the
Not
design
really,
choices.
no, not that I can think of. Yeah. So not really. I just sort of hope they get a chance to make an Eternights 2 or another game in general, and have learnt from it and could make something really good, because the potential was totally there.
Chris, your question is next. First of all, he says, thanks a lot for this section. It's always fun to listen to.
You're more than welcome, Mick.
Would you consider a Patreon-only end-of-year Q&A pod?
So yes and no. Yes, in the sense that if anyone wants to ask random questions and would be entertained by the answers from me or from anyone, love to.
Can I ask
love to do that? Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, I wouldn't
Okay.
mind.
No, that's fine.
I guess the only reason why I would say no is I think end of year pod work that Adam already has on his plate. I think if I said
No, I was
"Fuck it,
pleased
Adam,
you
I've
were
got-"
answering for us there. Totally, I wasn't sat there thinking, excuse me? More podcasts? I was...
Wait, okay, fuck it. Yes, let's do loads of them. Let's make it a 10
24-hour live
part
streams every day.
series. Yeah.
You want to see our shit? Go to Patreon.
Yeah, you can see a shit, but you can fucking pay for it.
Great. Good answer. I'm so glad that this is something that we're all going to have to do now.
Yeah, exactly. Shit live on air. Mick,
Your twin will have to shit as well.
what's that?
I said your twin's going to be shitting all the time as well.
Yeah, he's
Surely.
going to have no
I
control
don't do
over his
throwbacks to
arsehole.
podcasts from a month ago.
Yeah. Mick, do you think they will do Lies of P DLC?
More than likely. I mean, yeah. Why? I don't.
The
I think
least committal answer I've
Jesus
ever heard.
Christ, do you want to say it with less emotion?
I don't. Well, how the fuck
It
do
doesn't work for the company.
It's
It's
do you
speculation,
know,
mate.
not do you know?
I presume if
What
it
are the lottery
sells
numbers,
well,
Mick?
they will. Yeah, I presume if they sell well, they're going to make DLC.
I on Game Pass, like I'd be... yeah, this should do well. This should do well.
I would imagine that it'll make enough money, and there's certainly room to make DLC. So I don't know. Maybe I'll ask NeoWiz, and I'll let you know what they
Jesus
say. I
Christ.
would expect so. Yeah.
I'd just like to apologise to Mick for taking the time to ask the questions. If you're going to get that sort of
What
generic.
do you want me to fucking say?
I-
Yes.
I'd like to
Yes, they are
apologise to
gonna
Mick
make
Fraser.
DLC.
I'd like to apologise to Mick Fraser for asking him a question that was perfectly
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah.
All I said was more
I
than
dare not
likely.
ask this next question because you'll just go, I don't know.
What do you want from me?
Yeah. Will you be checking out the Lies of P X Wolong collaboration they showed off in a trailer today? It releases around the time of Wolong's second DLC is out.
No.
Which way round is the crossover?
I'm assuming it's
It's
for
in
Wolong,
Wolong. If it was
Oh,
in,
then no.
which means
Lies-
I'd rather shit on my hands and clap. But carry on.
if it was in Lies of P, yes.
Right.
As it's in Wolong, and I really don't have any desire to play any more Wolong, no. I liked it.
You
I've
liked
done
it a hell of a
with
lot more
Wolong.
than me, yes.
And me.
Yeah.
Any
Oh,
more,
no.
Chris?
I won't be checking.
No,
it out.
thankfully there's no more.
Sorry to have
you know-
bothered you, Mick.
Yeah, you can just relax now, mate. It's the end. Adam will do the outro.
Mick, is it all right if I play the jingle? I don't want
No, it's fucking not.
to. Well, I'm going to play the jingle right now.
Listen to correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
And with that, we've come to the end of a lengthy podcast because this seems to happen every time we take a week off. Well, I say take a week off like it was a decision we made.
Yeah, we just went.
But
We
it
went
just
to Malaga
happened.
for a week.
Yeah.
It was really just Lyle. The rest of us were ready.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
but he wanted his
100%
hour-long,
happened.
He did one hour long.
his hour-long session on his own.
alone.
But look, listen. Look and listen. In fact, 'cause it's a podcast. But listen seriously to this bit. This is important. Whether you're listening on Spotify or like Apple Podcasts app or on your Android phone, or whether you're watching on YouTube, or whether you found a little link and it's taking you from a TikTok or a YouTube short or a Facebook reel to us. If you enjoyed it,
somewhere.
oh well,
Sorry, carry on.
fair enough. I was in a really good flow. Thanks, Chris.
He does
If
this
you-
Middling at
sometimes.
best. Carry on.
If you enjoyed the podcast, if you enjoy our camaraderie and I nearly said banter, I'm not going to use that word, our friendship, shall we say, because let's be real, it's friendship for the ages. And if you enjoyed that, whatever format you're listening to or watching this podcast, do go to godisgeek.com because ultimately that's the best way you'll find out more about what we're up to in terms of when the pod's on or like how do I make sure I don't miss a podcast, because if you're on YouTube, click the bell button, you'll be notified. If you're on Spotify, it's a bit of a mess probably. Like most of mine, it just appears as a little icon and you click it and it's like, well, I don't even remember subscribing to that podcast. But don't unsubscribe. That's the key thing. Just keep listening. Even if you don't like games. We don't even talk about games that much sometimes.
Even if you don't
to be
like
honest
Chris,
with you.
just
You're right. This flow's banging.
Mm-hmm.
Carry on.
I mean, you're welcome to do it if you'd like to.
Mate, I genuinely thought you were going to make Mick do it.
That's weird you say that, because as the jingle was playing, I thought, I'm going to make Mick do this. And I thought, no, I'm going to make Lyle do this. And I thought, no, I can't trust either of them in case they say something wrong, in case they get us in trouble. But thank you very
You know
much.
what
the
message I
problem-
make?
friendship for 5 minutes first.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like
It
to...
was good.
It's a monologue. I've written it. It's just off camera down here. Thanks to Chris, to Lyle, and to Mick, obviously, for being here. We always appreciate that, and I'm sure the listeners do too. And I probably should start rephrasing the catchphrase with the regularity of which this podcast is going out, but I'm going to keep it for now and say that we will speak to you next week. Probably. Or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.